Hey guys, it's Janis. Welcome back to my channel. So since it's around back to school season again, I've decided to film a bullet journal ideas for students part 2. And I did a part 1 earlier, so you can check it out. Its link is in the description. So this video is just sort of an updated version of that, and I've got a few new spreads to show you guys, but it's pretty much similar, so you can watch that one before watching this one. But let's get right into it. So one thing's changed since the last time I filmed this kind of video is that now I'm getting closer to my public exams, and they're only like half a year away, so they're really close. And so most of my bullet journal is centered around preparing for that big public exam, and this spread here is exactly that. So this is my goals for the actual public exam next year, and this is how I want to achieve them. So on the left here I wrote down goals and how to get there. And on the left here are all the subjects I'm taking. I wrote out the names in Chinese because I felt like it looked nicer in English. So I wrote it out in Chinese, and here are my goals for the subjects. Our system comes in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-star and 5-star stars. And that's how I planned out my target grade for the subject. And in the middle column here are my weaknesses, and these are basically just what areas I need to improve in for each specific subject. For example, for math I'm really bad at the long questions, and for English I'm not that familiar with the system and everything like that. So what I wrote down in this column is just everything I need to improve to prepare for the tests. And on the right here is what to do. So what I can do to work on my weaknesses in order to get the grades I want. And so this is more in a to-do list format, because there are tasks that I want to do in order to get there. And on the right here is also something to help me study for my public exam, and it is a study tracker. As you can see, I haven't done anything to it yet, but on the top here are just a list of all my subjects. Down here I'm going to track my hours of study throughout the entire August, so if I study 1 hour I'll color in 1 box. So I did study Chinese today, so I'm just going to do that. Alright, there, and I'm going to count how many hours I study by the end of the month and just write it down in a little box here. And this is just to motivate me to study, and it also helps me keep track of how many hours I'm spending on each subject so I can spread it out more evenly. And so that is just my goals and study tracker for this summer. Okay, and the next few things are just updates on my previous journal. So in my last journal I showed you guys this sort of overseas studies kind of spread where I tried to brainstorm and plan about what I wanted to study in the future. But now the future is getting really close to where I am now, so I have pretty definitive choices, I guess you could say. And so I made these 2 spreads over here to really just keep track on all the stuff. So on the left here is overseas studies, and here is where I write down all the universities I was planning to apply to. My plans have sort of changed since I made this spread, so some of the schools here I am not going to apply to, but some of them I am. But here are just the universities I want to apply to, and in the middle are the requirements for each university. For example, in the American ones you need to do the SATs and stuff, and then for UK schools you need UCAS and stuff like that. So I wrote down all the requirements for each specific school over here so I can always flip to it whenever I want to work on my college applications. And on the right here, originally I was going to write out the tuition fee for each school, but in the end, because like all of them are expensive anyway, there really wasn't a point in writing this down, so I left this blank and I wrote extra reminders for each school on the right side over here. And this has been really helpful in helping me plan on how to write my college applications and stuff like that. And on the right here are my JUPAS choices. So in Hong Kong, we actually operate on a JUPAS system, and this is basically how I will apply for the schools in Hong Kong through the JUPAS system. And on the left here, I write down what subjects and what courses I'm interested in. So that's just the course, and then on the right here is the requirements for each course, like what grades I'm supposed to get or how many years the course is for, just details like that. And because for our JUPAS choices, in the end we will need to choose 20 choices, so I'm just going to keep working on this spread and keep brainstorming on what subjects I would like to put in my JUPAS choices. So this has been a useful spread for me in this summer with all the planning for future studies and stuff like that. So if you're leaving high school next year like me, then this spread is really useful to have. And another thing that I changed since my last bullet journal, in my last bullet journal I also had pretty much the same spread, which is planning for projects. And here are just my tasks list, so I have the date, the task, and some remarks on the task, so I can write down how much progress I've done for my project. And on the left here, I changed up a bit from my last journal. And on the left here, I write down ask teacher, which is just questions I want to ask teacher regarding the project. And this has been really useful for me because I always think of questions to ask my teachers as I'm doing the project at home, but I always forget to ask them when I get back to school. So as long as I write it down here, then I'll be fine. And the same goes here for literature. And over here I just have a box for notes, which as you can see was not that helpful because I didn't end up writing anything on it. I just ended up writing my notes on the remarks section. But yeah, this is the updated version of my project planning spread. Okay, and now I'll show you guys some ways I track my study time because I've tried so many different methods throughout these few months. And this is the first method I used for exam time. So for my second term exam, I wrote out this time chart to write down how many hours I would like to study per day. So this week, as you can see, was my exam week, and the blackened parts are just the parts where I'm away from home so I can't study. And starting under here, these are the times I will be at home, and I started allocating my study time in the blank spaces. And as you can see, I highlighted different chunks of time and marked them out by Pomodoro sessions. So basically 25-minute study sessions that add up to 2-hour study sessions. And so I will color out all my study sessions within the day so I know how many hours I will study throughout the day, and for the specific tasks I will do within the study session, then I will write them on the right over here. And this was really helpful for me during the exam period because I could work out exactly at which time slots I was going to study, and I still got my to-do list over here, so everything worked together fine. And this is the time tracker I did for my most recent exam, and basically here I write down all my dates, here are the hours, and for each day I will just mark down with my pen how many hours I studied. And afterwards I would use these colored pens to write down how effective my study sessions were that day. So pink is for a good productive study session, while green is just for a normal study session, and brown is for a really sucky study session. And then blue is for when I didn't study that much but I relaxed and had a good time anyway. So this is just how I tracked my study time during May and June of this year, and it was quite effective. So you could also try this out if you're more of a chart person and you like to draw out stuff like this. So the other type of study tracker I have is just the weekly ones. And so within my weekly spread, I will make a tiny little chart like this. And on the x-axis, I'll write down the days of the week. On the left, I will write down the number of hours, and I will just mark down how many hours I study per day as per usual. But if you can see, I actually used a highlighter to highlight out this line over here, and this was my goal for the week. I wanted to study 3 hours per day every single day of the week, but as you can see, I didn't meet my goal. So having this sort of mini tracker is also quite effective because you can change up your goals each week, and you can also just mark down your study time really easily without having to flip between different pages. And that is all for this video. I hope it was kind of helpful, especially for people who are leaving school next year like me, because these methods of planning have really helped me put my future into focus, and also all the study stuff has obviously helped me get better grades. So I hope this was helpful for you as well. Don't forget to tell me what videos you'd like to see me make next, and I'll see you next week. Bye!